Welcome to Environment Long Island. I'm Karl Grossman. The subject, just a wonderful exhibition, a celebration of trees at the Southampton Arts Center. And with me, two of the curators of this enchanting exhibition, Laurie Dolphin and Daniela Kronemeyer. And not here, but deserving great credit too, is Coco Myers. Laurie, the inspiration for the exhibition.
So, this exhibition crystallized, it all started actually crystallized in my mind in March 2020 when COVID came strong. And I had moved out to Shelter Island. It's very remote in Shelter Island. I was isolated, but I was surrounded by trees in March of 2020. And the trees were starting to bloom and blossom. And I just started to feel their presence, basically, and start to listen to them. They started to kind of talk to me, and I started to understand that I started to read about them, started to feel the interconnectivity. I learned that the older trees take care of the younger trees, and I just read lots of books, and then I started to do monoprints, which I love doing. I love, basically love, that's what I am, an artist and did lots of trees. And I started to produce all these trees in prints, and it dawned on me that, I would love to do an exhibition about trees, but just not me. I want to have other artists, and let's have an exhibition. It came into my mind called A Celebration of Trees, and this whole exhibition grew like a tree, and that's kind of it.
And Daniela, the diversity of where the artists are from, 20 countries, 77 artists. It's an amazing collection of art.
We knew that we wanted to celebrate our local artists, and that's a job that Coco Myers and Laurie also contributed to. Me personally, I spend half the year traveling when I'm not on the East End, and I happen to be very called down to Louisiana, to the majestic oaks down there, and on that trip I met one of our headlining artists, Frank Relli. We can talk more about him later, but basically, yes, the exhibition encompasses a huge variety of artists. We have artists represented from almost every part of the world. A lot of indigenous artists. We felt their stories, their connections to the forest was very important to share as well.
Now, and upon entering the exhibition, let me just read this narrative, which kind of sums it up. A celebration of trees is an ecological, multimedia exhibition created to expand thought and consciousness about the world's vast network of trees, a critical resource to humanity's survival. This exhibit showcases the beauty and mystery of trees while inspiring viewers to thoughtfully contemplate how to protect them. And let me note that the narrative, that narrative and the other narratives on the many walls in the exhibition were written by Megan Chasky and Scott Chasky of Sag Harbor. Scott has written all kind of books about farming and gardening, and Megan is a poet as well. And in fact, as you enter, there's a sculpture by the late Bill King, one of his incredible sculptures, always of wood. Well, not always of wood. Bill did sculptures with aluminum and metal and so forth. But there's a Bill King sculpture. And another narrative right in the next room. Trees have been called the most successful form of life within the great wheel of nature.
Right. I think one of the most interesting things that I learned from Scott Chasky is that 50% of our DNA is similar to trees. We share 50% DNA with trees, and so they're a part of us. We
need one another.
Well, I went to see there was many events connected to the exhibition.
Right.
And there was this film that I went to see. I had no idea. You'd mentioned before how the big trees take care of the little trees. I had no idea
That they even do that, right?
that there was beyond coexistence, that they
So that's why the old growth trees are so important. All these old trees, we need to keep them.
and how could you summarize how they help each other?
They give like carbon dioxide to each other, nutrients. It's kind of like a parent, when they get older, they know they're going to pass or whatever, and they're nourishing the little trees.
And there's been all kind of science now
That is proving that.
about this partnership between the big trees and the little trees.
Absolutely. And they call it the wood wide web, which is a funny, of the interconnectivity down below.
Well, let's look at some of, well, Daniela, can you
art.
just talk about some of the art?
Absolutely. So I mentioned Frank Relli. Well, in this image, actually, Laurie, maybe you want to take over.
Well, this is David Benjamin Sherry, and he photographed. What we were trying to do in this show is to show the beauty of trees. Now, this man shows, his photography is just so colorful; it's almost psychedelic, and I just love the color, and I just thought it was a big, beautiful painting, and that's why we put him in this particular. It was colorful.
To the left, we have Edwin Schlossberg and then Jaime Lopez, just
Yes.
beyond, who's a wonderful local photographer. And the sculpture you see is by Donald Lipsky. And Laura, you could probably...
Well, Donald Lipsky felt that he knew that he was a sculptor, and he felt, I could wait around for the tree to make this shape, but I could also create the tree myself. So he basically created all these shapes and forms with trees, and we have, they literally look like trees. You really think they are,
Yeah,
right?
they fooled lots of people.
Including myself. It's like, what is this? So, and inside where there's Southampton Arts Center is the most beautiful space, but inside there's one tree that's just wrapped around. We have three of his pieces. So we have, one of the good things about this show is that it's photography, it's diversity in what we have. We have photography, we have films throughout it, and sculpture, and paintings.
Poetry.
Yeah.
Lots of different medium. We have 5 films that are part of the exhibition, and I encourage folks in the community who want to come and see it a lot extra time, because each film is about 5 to 6 minutes, but they're very informative,
Right.
really show the different stories between these artists and their common love of trees.
And let me mention, admission is free, donations are appreciated, but go, really
There's
go.
nothing
It's
to lose.
amazing. Let's look at another image of, look at that, wow.
Well, this is our favorite. I shouldn't say that. We love all of this, but Sebastião Salgado is just amazing. And these are photographs. First of all, the book comes from Taschen, and it's a Taschen book. It's Amazon. How do you pronounce it?
Amazonia.
Amazonia. Extraordinary book. And it's all of the Amazon forest and the people that live in the Amazon rainforests. And they're just breathtaking photographs. That's all. We were extremely lucky to get this piece of work into the show.
Yeah,
Tell us more.
Sebastião Salgado is a Brazilian photojournalist. He has spent, his entire career documenting human conflict and environmental degradation across the world. But this particular piece of work of his, Amazonia, is very touching because he went home to Brazil after traveling the planet and realized that the land he had inherited in Minas Gerais had actually been completely depleted for cattle farming. So he spent years with his family reforesting their land. He's planted over 2 million trees and has literally brought the rainforest back to life. Jaguars and all sorts of animals have even come back. So what he's showing us in these photographs are the power of listening to indigenous people and respecting their way of life and not touching the forest, you know?
Let's talk right now, if we could. You have a big focus on indigenous people here on Long Island. I mean, it's global, the perspective of the exhibition, but it's also local. Can you speak about some of what you show in terms of Native American people here on Long Island?
Sure.
Talk about Jeremy Davis.
So Jeremy Dennis is the Shinnecock artist that we asked to contribute to the exhibition. Jeremy's a photographer, and we asked him to go on assignment and basically identify trees on the Shinnecock Nation that had medicinal, spiritual purpose to the tribe. And he selected 3 beautiful images and tells us in the exhibition why they were historically important and how they're still being used today. We do a lot of programming with the Shinnecock Nation. In fact, this weekend we have a Native Artisan Fair. We're highlighting the works of over 12 artists from the Indian Nation, and lots of different events. And our opening featured Shane Weeks, who gave a beautiful and very powerful blessing, also a tree tour. So we do highlight the works of the Native Americans to this part of Long Island, but we also have expanded the show to other regions, predominantly Hopi-Tewa artists from New Mexico, Apache artists from New Mexico. They just suffered their worst wildfires ever this spring, and so the artists all had a lot to contribute and share about their personal experiences with this. We have artists from the Congo, the Mabuti Pygmies, a very, very, very little tribe, a big tribe that's under extreme threat from their own government, Chinese mining, exploitations of their forest, you name it, they're battling. We share their stories and their words of wisdom to the world. Shipibo from Peru, we have Native artists from Zimbabwe and other places, very important to the exhibition.
And a point made repeatedly is the importance of trees in regard to climate change,
Yes.
particularly the rainforest of Brazil. I mean, they've been described as the lungs of the planet. And the threat to, well, certainly that rainforest, but all of trees all over the globe, very much threatened.
Even right here in our area, we learned on some of the incredible tree tours we've had with these local experts in our community.
Right, exactly.
From, Matt Hartline at Bill Miller to Jackson Dodds and Rick Boaksh at Bridge Gardens. We've learned, the infestation of the southern pine beetle and the effects it's had right here in this area. So, there is tremendous stress on trees right now. This is why the exhibition is so important.
Yeah, and let me mention too that I took the walk that you arranged, you organized the exhibition in the Southampton Arts Center to Bridge Gardens, and I never knew there in the middle of Bridgehampton down Mitchell Lane is this, I think it's 5 acres of incredible, the trees, I mean, there's one 100-year-old white pine and so forth, and Jackson Dodds, the arborist, he's a local arborist. What an explanation. And that is talking about free. It's free, anybody can go to. It's part of the Peconic Land Trust's activities, holdings, and so forth, right in Bridgehampton. It's really something to go to see, to walk around. Right here on Eastern Long Island, it's
I just learned from this whole show that we have that there is an old growth forest in Sylvester Manor, in my beloved Shelter Island. And it's the only old growth forest in Long Island, and it's right here, which I can't wait to
We're
go
going to be exploring it on Sunday with Joan Maloof, who's a renowned scientist and writer and professor of old growth forest. She and Karl are doing some events this weekend.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that.
So the
Go to that.
exhibition is not just in the Southampton Arts Center, but it's been extended
Yes.
with trips and presentations and tours. It's just,
The whole purpose is to wake up the awareness of the importance of trees. Don't take down the trees and just that's what the purpose of it
Let's
is.
jump to another slide, if we could, of an exhibit at the exhibition. Oh, that's the exhibition itself, and that's the Bill King sculpture right to the right.
Which is so humorous and wonderful. He's just extraordinary. And all the way in the back is Frank Relli, and that is cypress trees in the water in Louisiana.
Yes.
Where he literally goes in the water with alligators and lights up these trees and shows their magnificence.
This has nothing to do with the exhibition, but at home in our living room, we have a sculpture that Bill King made for me,
Oh,
which he titled "Reporter Skating on Thin Ice," which is the
That's
kind
funny.
of summary of my existence
That's a
for
riot.
the years. Let's jump to another slide.
well, there we have Beth Moon, who goes around the world taking photographs of ancient trees. And when I mean ancient, the Bristol pine cone, there's a tree over there to the left, is in California, is one of the oldest trees. I think it's like 4,000.
5,000 years old. I
Which
think.
is crazy. And then the one on the right is called the Majesty tree. And these look like paintings almost, but they are photographs. She also prints them by herself and has a whole way of doing it. And the entrance of this Southampton museum is filled with her. She has all her art in the entrance. And those are two beautiful
With the
photographs.
Boab trees, the narrative says that they could live for
Yep.
2,000 years. 2,000 years.
Yes. But they are also having climate disruption, is what they call it, or climate. They're having trouble right now, which is very, very sad. She went to Madagascar to take pictures there. Some of these, it's really hard to go to these places. They protect these trees. They don't want you near the old trees. You have to get permission because people light them on fires and all of that, really seriously.
We should also mention with Beth's work that we are so grateful to have partnered with the Archangel Ancient Tree Archive.
That's right.
They're a nonprofit based out of Michigan, and they are planting old growth forests all over the country and other parts of the world. In fact, they're planting coastal redwoods right here on Long Island at the Longhouse Reserve in East Hampton and at the Hayground School. We actually had coastal redwoods here from the beginning of time. And the founder of that nonprofit very much believes that by cloning the old, sturdiest, hardiest,
The champion trees,
champion
they call
trees
it.
on the planet and growing them, we can really reduce major carbon emissions and have a chance at saving the planet. So we're very pleased that they helped us bring Beth Moon. She's a
Right.
she's a partner of theirs as well.
So that wonderful charity brought her to us. So
And
that-
redwoods can live, this is again part of the narrative, 3,000 years.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
And when you walk into the museum, there's a huge, beautiful sequoia
Yeah.
on the left-hand side. That's beautiful. And we actually have these little saplings that are 4 saplings that have been genetically coded from the redwood coastal from Long Island, and they are right in the museum, which you have to see. And they're living. I've been checking up on them.
Yes.
We can go to the next slide, please.
Well, there we have Beth Moon, and those are the baobab trees from Madagascar on the left and on the right. And the middle one, I think it's in Africa. I'm not sure where that tree is, but it is not a baobab, but it looks like a painting. It's absolutely stunning.
And we chose this piece, it's called Izar, as our, one of our cover images. We felt it was just very mystical and enchanting. So you'll see it on the banner outside the exhibition and flyers and around town.
When you see it, you can't even believe that it's a photograph. It looks like a painting.
And if we can jump to the next one, I think the next one is Andy Warhol. No.
Oh.
Yeah, the Andy Warhol's book.
Well, so all the way where you see the sculpture, by Hans van Bodenkamp, which I love. Right behind that are two images but taken called Tropical Landscape, taken by Andy Warhol in his late life. At the end of his life, basically, he fell in love with cameras, not just Polaroids. And he took these, they're 8 by 10. He took these, and they're beautiful images by Andy Warhol. And I was like, I was so surprised that he took pictures of trees. And I thought, let's get him in.
Well, the narrative there says that everybody knows about his interest in celebrities.
Yes.
And photos of, but, I mean, he had this wonderful, it's preserve in Montauk, you know.
So just as you were mentioning, Karl, about Andy Warhol and little known facts about him loving nature and trees, having this reputation in the high fashion and, social life of New York, that's what's been the most incredible thing about this exhibition is not only hearing all of the artists' stories and where they come from, because we all have, from childhood, a visceral memory of trees and what they've done for us, but also seeing the folks who come through the exhibition and as they leave, their thoughts on, well, gosh, now, this is how I communicate with trees, or this. It kind of brings us all together in a time we really, really need to come together as a human species, but also it just helps us remember how critical it is for us to take care of trees. They take care of us, and we can walk under the trees, we can talk to trees, people hug trees. We have this really unique connection to them that I think this show really taps into.
The show, people might be watching this TV program, in 6 months or in a year. And unfortunately, this particular show at the Southampton Arts Center will be over December 18th, 2022. But wow, it should get on the road. It should go, if there's anybody watching with a connection to the Whitney or the Metropolitan Museum of Art or the American Museum of Natural History or the Brooklyn Museum.
Brooklyn, a tree grows in Brooklyn.
Well, are there any plans or work that you're involved?
We are scheming, and we are thinking about where to go, and there are plans in our heads.
We do. We have some great connections around the country, certainly, but we think this show has a wonderful network to reach all over the world.
It's going to grow like a tree.
Yeah.
That's this whole exhibition. It'll be evergreen. We see that. We hope it happens, and any help we can get with that, please.
Anybody out there who
Yeah.
could help would be great. Meanwhile, for folks out there, if you're seeing this TV program before December 18th, rush down to the Southampton. Just get to Southampton and go see it.
Most beautiful art center. It's just it is beautiful. And
Check out the website, southamptonartscenter.org, and be sure to get on the mailing list, check out our Instagram, our Facebook, because we have a lot of great programming continuing. We're going to have a big party on
we're going to have a party
17th.
December 17th. Please come. It's going to be the celebration of trees, the last night of it, and we would love you to come. You've got to see the show.
Yeah.
And others should really see the show. I mean, truly.
I know.
Well, we brought a lot of schools in. That's been very exciting to see the children come through.
Yeah.
And they're really aware of what's going on environmentally right now. So they have a lot of questions. But yes, we take groups to come through. Please just contact the Southampton Arts Center.
And
We'd
as
love to give you a
curators,
tour.
we've given tours to people.
Yep, we have one coming up on December 4th as well, Sunday.
Cool.
Coco Myers, we couldn't squeeze her in with you.
No.
Now, she was so important in curating as well. And
Absolutely.
Folks from East Hampton watching the show, Coco is the daughter of Astrid Myers and David Myers. So it's a local person from East Hampton, who a lot of viewers perhaps, I'm sure, will know.
She was awesome. Great help. She really helped. She's a great organizer, and she really just helped. We couldn't have done this.
No.
Each of us brought different things to this exhibition, and that was great. And that's why three's a charm. Seriously. I had my vision, Daniela had hers, and Coco had hers. And there were three different ways of doing things, and it helped.
And we didn't mention at all, we should have, a guy I went to college with, Danny Weldon.
Oh.
He's very local. I mean, Danny originally from Babylon. He lives now in Noyak, but he's a master printmaker, and
He-
there's etchings
He
Yes.
was
in the exhibit that
my
Danny-
teacher. That's how I got involved with monoprints. And
Oh, really?
Absolutely, Dan Weldon.
He's giving 2 workshops at his home studio coming up in December as well. Definitely check out the
See, I didn't
website
know
for that.
that.
We just signed him on
Oh, really?
to do
That's
workshops
great.
at the house.
He's fantastic.
He's wonderful. We have a lot
He
of
invented
amazing
solar plates.
local artists. Yeah.
And he has a huge section of all these solar plates of trees trees in the snow. And then he also loves painting, so he did a beautiful big painting. I mean, and just Frank Relli. There's so many people. We could.
go on and on.
We could.
Well, and I hope the show goes on and on, because people have to know, and again, the science of the trees helping out other trees, the whole issue of climate change and the importance of trees in offsetting climate change, and the threat to, I mean, fortunately, during the period of the exhibit, Bolsonaro, who had been the Prime
Yes.
Minister of
Ah.
Brazil and was pushing for really the decimation
Yes.
of that rainforest, he's gone. He was voted out. But this is a program which should, in my view, be seen widely all over the area, all over the country, in fact, all over the world. I'm Karl Grossman. Thank you for watching. This has been Environment Long Island.